Hello, I'm Elias. I'm the chief engineer here at KVIA, and I'm going to show you some troubleshooting techniques for the LU200. The LU200 is this LiveU unit. We also call it a small unit. There's two units, the LU200 and the LU600. What I have here is the LU200. LiveU is a cellular bonding technology, meaning it takes a video signal, it chops it into different packages, and it sends that signal to a receive point, using multiple paths, multiple providers. In this particular case, it uses Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, and AT&T. So the modems are connected, each modem is connected to its own network. Verizon's connected to their Verizon network, Sprint, AT&T, they're all connected to their network. The modems serve as a gateway, as a way of getting that video or those packets of information. Once LiveU packetizes this information, it selects one of those modems to send that particular packet. So you might be getting some packets from one provider and some packets from another provider. The receiver at the end gets those packets and assembles them back together and shoots out a picture for you. Connecting the unit to the camera. So on the side here, it has a BNC input. It has a BNC input. It also has an HDMI input. This will automatically recognize if there's something connected to the HDMI or something connected to the BNC. The BNC has this rubber protector here, so you can move it out of the way and plug in your BNC cable here. Now, occasionally, you might still see your video on the display, but they might not see you on the other end, especially when you start transmitting. Because make sure that you're on the correct format. And here at KVIA, we are a 720 house, meaning that most of our video, all of our video is 720p. So we send 720p over this. If you send a 1080 signal, you will see it here, and the server will see it, but they might not see you on the switcher. So you might still get that complaint from the control room and tell you, I don't see you. And you might even be seeing yourself here and will be transmitting, but they won't see you. So make sure that your camera or your source is 720 in the case of KVIA. We're going to start with turning the unit on. This is the LU200, and it has two buttons in the front. These two buttons, one is for navigation, and this one has the dual function. One is to turn it on and off. So just press that button for about 3 seconds, and you see the word loading, and this will take up to 3 minutes to go through the power on procedure. The LU200 has an internal battery that lasts about 3 hours. It might be less if it's transmitting, but once the battery is drained, you can charge it, and on the side here, next to the Ethernet port here, you're going to see that it has this port called DC in. This is where you connect the power supply. This light turns red, and that indicates that it's charging. It might take up to 2 hours for a complete charge. Depending on how worn out the batteries are, it can take less than that, as long as 2 hours. There are 4 modems from this unit. 2 modems are in the form of SIM cards, and they are connected here on the side. They're these little small cards that are similar to what a cell phone would have. The other modems are these traditional USB modems, and these are Verizon in this case and Sprint, and they connect to these USB ports. You can go into the interface menu, and that is, you can get there by navigating here where it says interfaces, and it says, in this case, it says 5 of 6. So that's a good indication that there's 5 modems active. So just go down, or to the right, and you can tell which modems are active by looking at the green light. Looks very similar to what a cell phone will look like. It tells you AT&T. It tells you how many bars it has. You can scroll down. It tells you T-Mobile, how many bars it has. It tells you interface 3. It has Verizon, and it has good signal with about 5 bars there, and they're all green. And this one has no name. Now, Sprint usually doesn't display their name, but the one that says no name is usually Sprint, and it's also connected with about 5 bars. So in this interface section, you also, if you keep scrolling down, you're going to see one here that has the Ethernet port. That's yellow. That when you see a yellow color, that means that the port is available, the device sees it, but there's no communication. It's not connected to anything. So in this case, you see that yellow one because the port is available. It's this one right here, but we don't have a cable connected to it. So that's why it's yellow. If you were to connect a cable and there was communication to a network, it will go green. The other port that is available besides the modems is the Wi-Fi interface. Right now, it's green because we connected to the NPG code guest. It's a Wi-Fi in this area. And it's green because it's communicating with it. Now, in this case, it's not transmitting because of the network doesn't allow video to be transmitted through it, but it is connected and it has joined that network. So that's how you can tell if the Wi-Fi is active as well, and that's interface 5 of 6. So if you go into interface, the Wi-Fi interface here, and you press the right, it will tell you, it has this menu where it says select network. As soon as you press right, it starts scanning, and it scans for different networks. It's kind of like what you would do at home or in a Starbucks. You start looking for the networks that are available in that area. So after a brief scan, the unit is displaying that we have NPG code guest, we have DG1670A, we have DG1670A again, KVIA net. So we have a couple of networks available. So the one that you have a password for is the one you want to join. By doing that, you go, for example, I'm going to join NPG code guest. I select that one. And actually, since I'm connected to it, it's telling me, do you want to disconnect or forget? So let me cancel out of this, and let's join a network that we haven't joined before, so that we can see when we select that network, we press select. This menu pops up. These are the characters, so you have numbers. If you navigate over here to this select this key, it will also, oh, I got out of it by accident here. Let's see. So after you scan and select the network, you can also select, once you select that network, the alphanumerical screen shows up. And from here, you can actually join the network by introducing the password. Especially if you know the password, you just enter the password, and you can navigate between numbers, lowercase and uppercase letters here. Well, let's say you join a network. You're at Starbucks or somewhere where you have a network available. And so let's say we joined and we're connected and we see it in our interfaces. So, and this is a good example. Sometimes just because you join a network doesn't mean that you're transmitting to the network. Some networks, depending on the facility, they don't allow the port that LiveU uses to transmit or to stream is not open. That's on their network, and sometimes they have restricted access to those networks. So that's why you see here that even though we're connected and it's green, you see 0 kilobytes being transmitted over it because that port is not open. So occasionally when we use, this unit only has 2 USB ports. And when we unplug one of the USB ports where the Verizon, Sprint, or another provider is plugged in, if I unplug it, you're now making this unit go from 4 to 3 modems. Occasionally, when you unplug that interface and you plug it back in, it doesn't necessarily, the unit doesn't necessarily automatically find this. So you may not know it, and you may still be functioning with 3 modems, even though you plugged in back your modem. So that's why I recommend going into the interfaces and making sure that you have all the interfaces is green with enough signal strength, and that they're not only available to the unit, but connected to the network. As you can see, I unplugged the Verizon network in this yellow, and it's going to go right now into no modem available or no interface available. And you see how it went from 5 to 4 out of 6. So I'm going to show you how to scan. So let me stop it. Because one thing, if you connect this while it's transmitting, it might not find it. So now you see here no device because I unplugged the Verizon card. So once you plug it back in, if you're in the interface menu, I'm going to plug this unit back here again in the USB port. You see the USB port there? Plugging it back in. Now it says no device. This might take even 2 minutes, maybe even longer. At first, you're going to see the section where the signal bars are at change colors. They're going to go from gray. They're right now gray out because the device is not available, to yellow, just like it did right now. So that's telling that the device is seeing this card now. Now, even though it's yellow, it sees them, but it's still not transmitting because this particular modem is not attached to any network. So at this point, Verizon is communicating to the networks, is pinging the closest tower, is negotiating with the network. So it's doing all that. So that's why you have to wait some time. As you can see now, it changed to 4G, but still says no network. So it's doing this in steps. So be patient. Just because you connected, it doesn't mean that it's available and ready to be used. And if you start transmitting right now, you might, once this is connected, even if it connects, it might not join a usable interface as a transmission device. So I recommend, if you have the time, wait. If you need to go live with 3 or 2, how many you have. But if you have the time, wait until this goes green and you have a good signal, and that changes from no network to, in this case, Verizon, like it did right now, and it's green. So now the Verizon card is not only available, but it's also connected to the network and ready to be used as a gateway. Now that we're streaming, let's look at the interfaces. And actually, each interface is gonna show how much bandwidth is using. So, for example, here on the AT&T is using about 1.6. T-Mobile is using the same, about 1.6 or 1600 kilobits. Verizon, about the same, 1500. And Sprint is using about 1100, 1200. Now, remember how I mentioned, even though we connected to the NPG code guest, you see how it says 0? Just because we connected to it doesn't necessarily mean that it's using it for streaming, because I know, since I'm familiar with this network, I know that we don't have the port to stream out open. So don't necessarily rely that because you're connected to the Wi-Fi means that you'll be able to stream. Some places do, some places don't. That explains why on the NPG code guest you see 0 kilobytes. It means that, yeah, we're connected. And we can actually, if this had a browser, we can probably browse Google or Yahoo, but we cannot use it to stream because streaming uses dedicated ports on its own dedicated protocol. The latency, if you go back here to the main menu, you see there it says 3 seconds. This is a delay. If you see in the menu, there's a menu that adjusts this delay. The delay adjustment is there to help improve your signal quality. So the longer the delay, the better signal quality, because the more time you're giving the device to buffer, to cache, and process the video. The less the delay, the device has to be work and provide all that a little faster. So that's how delay works. Now, delay is also very dependent on the network conditions. So let's say you realize that there's only 2 interfaces working or 2 modems out of the 4. You might want to change that delay to a longer delay, from 3, let's say, to maybe 6 or 8, because the network conditions are not optimal, and you risk having inconsistencies in the video transmission or the video streaming. So increasing the delay will improve your quality, although it will create that delay that sometimes is unwanted and sometimes causes a little more confusion in the live hit. So if you have an 8-second delay, that means that whatever you're seeing here will not be seen at the studio for another 8 seconds. So you have to depend on cues and good communication with the director and IFB as well, in order to get a good cue on when to come in and when a SOT is going to be run, and just communication in general. having a shorter delay is preferable because it makes it less confusing to the studio and to the recorder. But if the network conditions don't allow it, having a longer delay might be necessary to get the LiveU. To transmit, if you're in the main menu and the device says ready, like it says right here, that means that it sees the receiving end and is ready to transmit. So you just hit the button. Now these buttons are kind of difficult to press. Sometimes you have to press really hard. And you press it once. I think you have to press it for about 1 second, or there we go. Because the unit is so small, these buttons also have a couple of functions. The delay on how long you press it, it tells the button what the function that you want. So if you hold it for more than 3 seconds, it is to turn off. If you press it instantly, it's to transmit, like I just did, and it starts transmitting there. So as you can see, it's transmitting, so I'm going to stop it. Same thing, I press it. Press again to stop, so you press it again. Oh, I wasn't fast enough. Oh yeah, I was. So you hit it and it stops and it goes back to ready again. Store forward, that's another function that the unit has. Store and forward, it means that it stores it. This has internal memory. So you can be recording but not transmitting. So if in my menu here where it says profile, right now I have it in live, meaning that when I'm recording from my camera, it's being sent out. But if I change this to, if I change the profile to store and forward, now I'm using this. You see where it says delay, now it says not applicable. Because store and forward, you're using now the box as a hard drive. So you're storing it to be so you can forward it later. So let's say I'm recording, and this is now ready. When you press ready, it's connecting. And now it's using the function store and forward. So it's storing it in internal memory, and at the same time through the modem, it's forwarding that file, but it's not a live stream. It's forwarding a file, not a stream, but a file, so that you can be picked up at the server later. On the LU200, there's 2 ways of sending video. We talked earlier about the store forward, but there's also you can send an actual file. The unit, the LU200, has a micro SD slot here on the side. I don't know if you can see it right there. One way of getting information back to the station is to have an SD card, and of course you might actually need an adapter to go to the bigger SD, and put the file that you want to send from your timeline, or put it into the micro SD card via your adapter. Let's say your timeline, and you edited the story, you transfer it to the micro SD card, and you bring the micro SD card into the slot again, push it back in, right there, and then on the menu, here on the menu, you're going to see, if you scroll, you first see interfaces, see profile, channels, and you see another menu called files. You navigate to the right, you see where it says SD card. You select SD card, and it's going to show the list of folders and files available in that SD card. In this case, we see something called Spotlight. And trashes, don't pay any attention. That's a folder that some of the SD cards, when they're formatted, they have. We have several files here, or several folders. But you select the folder where you put your story, and it opens another folder or subfolder. So you would have to navigate. You have to know where you saved it, and then you navigate to the file that you want. And select that. Once you have it selected, you press send, and it will send the file. Once you have the folder selected, you press the bottom one, like if you're about to transmit, and it starts sending the file. That's the way of doing it through the SD card. The other way of sending a file is from the same menu, but instead of using the SD card, you might have a USB. Unfortunately, because there's very little real estate on the unit, there's only 2 SD ports. But what we've done in the past is we unplug one of the SD ports. In this case, we're going to unplug Verizon, which happens to be this one here. So we're going to unplug it so that we have that USB port available, and we're going to connect our USB device. So now we have a USB drive connected into the unit. Now if you go into interfaces, you see that there's only now 4 of 6, so we're missing 1 because we unplugged the modem. But now we go over here to Files, and you have here SD card, and now on the bottom you have USB drive. So you go to the USB drive, select it. Now you have there a lot of folders. Here's a good example. There's a folder called Packages there. You select the packages, and inside that folder you have one called REIK package. REIK package. So let's say we want to send that package. It's an MP4. It tells you there the extension. So let's say we want to send that package. We select that package, and the menu changes to upload. So you just hit upload, and it starts connecting. Once it's connecting, once it's connected, it's gonna say forwarding. So now the package is being sent, and it gives you a status bar on what percentage of the file is being sent. Now keep in mind, right now we're only using 3 of the modems available because we unplugged one of the modems to use the USB port. So you see there where it says forwarding, and it's at 11%. Now it's at 16%. It seems like this is a 155 megabyte file. Now it's at 26%, and now it's at 100%. So yeah, about 2.5 minutes to send a 155 megabyte packet, which is actually not bad. If for some reason it gives you that abort upload, if you wanted to, you could just hit that button and cancel the upload. So now that the file is up again, it's been sent, you can just call the control room and make sure that they received it. Another thing to keep in mind here is another menu to understand is when you go into menu, you see interfaces, you see profile, you see delay, and also you see channels. This unit right now is being tested, so we don't have a channel assignment, but when you go to channels, you see all the channels that are available. KVIA has 8 channels available. Now, you usually don't have to look at this out in the field because we have these channels assigned, but I recommend that you look at the channels every once in a while to make sure you're in the right channel. Now, this display is kind of small, so it doesn't display all the entire number, so you have to wait for that crawl to go by, and you see the last number. It says KVIA S1071062174167225, and then you see that underscore, and then it says 8. Like I mentioned, we have 8 channels. We only use 4 at a time. This unit, if it was, sometimes we refer to it as Unit 2 or LiveU 2, LiveU 1, that's in reference to the channel that is assigned to. So if you're LiveU 2, that means that you're going to come out on channel 2 on the receive end. But we have 8 channels. So occasionally, if they're not seeing you, You can also check the channels and make sure that you are on the right channel. So unfortunately, you have to wait because the number is so long that, as you can see, there's that little crawl happening there. And you have to wait until the very end when you see that underscore number, and that's the channel assignment. In this unit, particularly in this unit, I don't have it assigned to any channel, but let's assign it. Let's say we are supposed to be on 2, since this is unit 2. And they don't see us. So we're gonna look at each one and make sure that we are on unit 2. In that one, like you see there, it says underscore 2, KVIA S107162153217, and you don't have to know, but the last number, the underscore 2, meaning that I'm on channel 2, so I select that channel. So now I'm on channel 2. If I go back to the main menu, now you see there, before it didn't have that, but you see that scroll of numbers. Now you see that underscore 2, that means that this unit now assigned to go to channel 2. Now you usually don't have to go and change those. We usually have them preset, but it's good to know, especially if you cannot get a hold of an engineer right away. Something you can check on the field. Hey, I am on the right channel. These are just some of the operational reviews for using the LiveU and troubleshooting techniques in case you encounter some problems with it. This is not all the menus. We didn't go over all the menus, but these are the menus that you will probably use out in the field in case you encounter some sort of problem or some sort of issue with the network. Should help you identify and narrow down what the problem might be and know what to do next.